Welcome back to the AnzenGuard Podcast, everyone. I'm Michael Reynolds.
And I'm Laura Wilson.
And today, we're going deep on something I'm sure we've all dealt with at some point. Firewalls and antivirus software.
Yeah, trying to keep all our stuff safe online.
Exactly. We're going to try to figure out what each of them really does, why we need both, and how things are changing in the cybersecurity world for these tools.
It's kind of like, when you have a security system in your house,
Right.
you wouldn't only have an alarm system. You'd also want to make sure you have good locks on your doors and windows.
Yeah.
It's all about layers of protection.
Exactly.
And that's what we're talking about today, but in the digital world.
So let's start with the basics. Could you break down exactly what a firewall is?
So imagine a firewall as kind of like a border guard for your computer and network.
Right.
And it basically looks at all the network traffic coming in and going out. And it makes sure that only the safe data gets through, and it blocks anything that looks suspicious or dangerous.
So it's like the first line of defense?
Yeah, exactly. It's really the first line of defense to try and stop that malicious traffic from even getting to your devices.
Okay, so it's filtering out the bad stuff before it can even get in.
Yeah.
But how does a firewall actually know what's good and bad?
Well, originally they used something called packet filtering, which is basically like looking at the address on an envelope.
Okay.
So if the address is on like the allowed list,
Right.
then the packet or the data gets through. If not, it's blocked.
Makes sense.
But as you can imagine,
Yeah.
cyber criminals are clever.
For sure.
They figured out ways to kind of disguise their malicious packages.
Oh, so it's like sending a virus but making it look like a birthday card or something.
Exactly. So security had to become a lot smarter.
Yeah, of course. So what happened?
Things got really interesting. We have what are called next-generation firewalls,
Okay.
or NGFWs.
NGFWs, right?
And they go way beyond just checking the address. They can actually look inside the data packets and use all sorts of techniques to try and find those hidden threats.
So they're like looking deeper into the contents.
Right. And some of them even have intrusion prevention systems built right in,
Okay.
which means they can actually monitor and block suspicious activity like right as it's happening in real time.
That's pretty impressive, like having a security guard who not only checks IDs but can also see through things.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
But these next-gen firewalls, they sound really complex.
Yeah.
Are they just for like big companies with a ton of tech people?
Not at all, actually. They used to be, but now you can find them in much smaller packages so they can work for home users or, businesses of any size, really.
They're becoming more accessible.
Exactly. And then there's a whole other level too, cloud firewalls.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
So these aren't like physical boxes that you have in your office. They're entirely software-based.
Yep.
And they work to protect all the data and applications that are in the cloud.
Which makes a lot of sense these days.
Yeah, because we're all using the cloud for pretty much everything.
Right, so it's like the cloud has its own special border patrol now.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got our borders pretty well guarded with all these firewalls.
Right.
But what about those threats that manage to sneak past the defenses?
Oh, that's where antivirus comes in.
Right.
So this is like having security personnel actually inside your house.
Okay, I'm following you.
So the firewall is keeping those intruders out. But the antivirus is actively looking around in your devices for any malware that might have already gotten in.
And getting rid of it.
Yeah, and neutralizing it, basically.
Okay, so if the firewall is the bouncer at the club, the antivirus is the security team inside making sure no one starts any trouble.
That's a great way to put it.
All right, so how does this antivirus software actually work?
Well, one of the main ways is through something called signature analysis.
Okay.
And it's basically like having a giant database of all the known malware fingerprints. So the software scans all your files, compares them to the database, and if it finds a match, then it knows that file is dangerous, and it can either quarantine it or delete it.
So it's like having a most wanted list for computer viruses.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But I'm guessing just like firewalls, the antivirus technology has had to adapt to all the new malware that's out there.
Oh, absolutely. Those cyber criminals, they're always coming up with new ways to disguise their malicious code.
Right.
So that traditional signature-based detection, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, so what else is there?
Well, that's where heuristic methods come in.
Okay.
So these methods are looking for patterns of behavior that are suspicious, even if the code itself isn't in the database yet.
So it's like a detective looking for clues of a crime, even if they don't have a picture of the suspect yet.
Perfect analogy.
All right, that's pretty cool. But is there anything even more advanced than that?
There is, The latest thing in antivirus is actually using machine learning algorithms. Yeah, so they can analyze just huge amounts of data and identify those brand new threats based on patterns and anomalies.
So it's basically becoming like a crime-fighting AI.
Exactly. Constantly learning and adapting.
But I bet cloud-based antivirus plays a role in this too, right?
Absolutely. So it works similar to those cloud firewalls we talked about.
Yeah.
It has a lot of advantages. It can scan your files remotely, often without even slowing your computer down at all.
That's great.
And they're constantly updating their threat detection capabilities in the cloud.
So you always have the latest protection.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got these two really powerful tools working together.
Right.
Firewalls are guarding the perimeter. Antivirus is patrolling inside.
Yeah.
But how are they really different? I mean, it seems like they're both trying to protect us from the same thing.
That's a really good question. And they are both essential, but they do have distinct roles.
So?
One big difference is the scope of their protection. So firewalls are focused on the network level, controlling the flow of data in and out.
Okay.
And antivirus is working directly on the devices themselves, scanning all the files and processes for threats.
So it's like a firewall is protecting the whole castle walls.
Right.
And antivirus is protecting each of the knights inside.
That's a good way to think about it.
All right, so another difference is how they actually detect threats.
Exactly. So firewalls are preventative.
Okay.
They're trying to stop that harmful traffic from getting in at all.
Right.
And antivirus is more reactive, so it's dealing with those threats that somehow got past the firewall.
So it's like having a moat and a drawbridge to keep the invaders out.
Yeah.
But you still have guards inside just in case someone gets through.
Exactly.
So it's not really a question of choosing one or the other.
Yep.
You need both.
You need both for that comprehensive security.
And it sounds like the lines between these two are kind of getting blurry now, too.
They are. And, we're even starting to see things called antivirus firewall, which combine both types of protection into one.
So you don't even need two separate systems anymore.
Right. But either way, whether you have two separate ones or one that does both, it's really all about having that layered security approach.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to dive into in the next part of our deep dive.
Absolutely. We'll talk about how to pick the right security tools for you.
Okay.
And how to build a really solid security strategy.
That was good.
And what other steps you can take besides just installing software.
All right, so we've got a lot more to uncover. Join us for part 2 of our deep dive into the world of firewalls and antivirus. Welcome back to the AnzenGuard Podcast.
Picking up right where we left off, still exploring firewalls and antivirus.
All those digital guardians. Yeah, last time we talked about how they work and how they're both so important for staying safe online.
Definitely now we should probably talk about how to actually choose the right tools for you.
Yeah, because there's so many choices out there, it can be really overwhelming.
It really can be, and it's not a one-size-fits-all situation either. Right, everyone's needs are different.
Exactly. So when it comes to firewalls, you've got those traditional packet filtering firewalls.
Right.
Those are good for basic protection, but they might not be enough to stop the really sophisticated threats we were talking about earlier.
So if you need more advanced protection, a next-generation firewall would be better.
Exactly. NGFWs.
Okay.
Those can do a deeper inspection of the network traffic,
right,
so they can identify and block those malicious activities in real time.
Okay.
And a lot of them even have those extra security features, like the intrusion prevention systems.
So it's like having a security system that not only locks the doors, but also has motion sensors and cameras.
Yeah, a great analogy. And don't forget about the cloud firewalls either.
Right. Of course, if you're using cloud-based services, you need one of those.
Exactly, because you need to protect all your data and applications in that environment.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so firewalls, they're all about guarding the perimeter.
Right.
What about antivirus? What should we be thinking about when we're picking that? Well, you've got the signature-based antivirus. That's the most basic kind.
Okay.
Relies on that database of known malware signatures to figure out what's a threat.
Okay.
But that one might not be as effective against the newer malware that's not in the database yet.
So that's where those heuristic methods and machine learning come in, right?
Exactly. Heuristic antivirus looks for those suspicious behavior patterns, even if it's not in the database.
Okay.
Like a detective who can spot a criminal based on how they're acting.
I like that.
Even if they've never seen their face before.
Right, right.
And then machine learning takes it even further.
Yeah.
It's constantly analyzing all this data and learning how to identify those new threats just based on patterns and anomalies.
So it's basically like an AI security guard that's always learning and getting smarter.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing. But I have to say, this is all kind of daunting.
I know, right?
So how do we really know which tools are the right ones for us?
Well, first you have to understand your own risk profile. So are you just a casual internet user, or do you work with sensitive data?
Right.
Do you connect from home mostly, or are you always on public Wi-Fi?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The level of security you need depends on your own circumstances.
So someone who's just browsing social media at home doesn't need the same protection as a big company handling financial transactions.
Exactly. And you have to remember, no single tool can protect you completely.
Right.
That's why that layered security approach is so important.
Yeah, well, we touched on that earlier. Can you explain more about what that means?
Sure. It's kind of like if you were building a fortress.
Oh.
You wouldn't just have one wall, right?
Multiple layers.
Exactly. You'd have walls and moats and guard towers all working together.
So layered security is like that, but in the digital world.
Exactly. It's all about combining multiple security measures to make your defenses strong.
So a strong firewall and good antivirus software, those are the foundation.
Right.
But there's more you can do.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like what other layers should people be thinking about?
Well, one really essential layer is using strong and unique passwords for every single account.
Right. I know it's tempting to just use the same one everywhere, but that's so risky.
It is, because if one account gets compromised, then they all are.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So use a different strong password for each account. And, you could even think about using a password manager.
Oh, yeah. Those are helpful.
They can help you generate and store all those passwords safely.
Makes it easier to keep track of everything.
It does.
Okay, so strong passwords. What else?
Keeping all your software up to date is crucial.
Oh, yeah, the updates.
Yeah, because those updates often include security patches that fix vulnerabilities.
So attackers can't exploit them.
Exactly. It's like patching holes in your armor.
The longer you wait, the more vulnerable you are.
Exactly. And it's not just your operating system that needs those updates.
Right. All the software.
All of it, your web browser, antivirus software, all the applications you use regularly.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So we've got software updates. What else?
You need to be really careful about the websites you visit and the links you click.
Yeah.
Avoid those suspicious websites.
Right.
And be careful about emails from people you don't know.
Yeah, especially those phishing attacks.
Oh, yeah. Those are getting so sophisticated.
They really are.
You have to be really careful about any emails asking for personal information or telling you to click on a link.
So think before you click. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Always. And if you're using public Wi-Fi...
Oh, yeah, which is basically a hacker's playground.
Pretty much.
What can you do?
Make sure you're using a VPN.
Okay, but VPN.
Yeah, a virtual private network.
Right.
It encrypts your internet traffic, so it's much harder for anyone to intercept it.
Like having your own private little tunnel through the internet.
Exactly. Another important layer is being careful about what information you share online.
Right. Don't just give away your social security number to anyone.
Yeah, like your bank details, things like that, unless you're absolutely sure the website is secure.
Don't hand over the keys to your digital kingdom.
Exactly. And finally, one of the best layers of security is education.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
It really is. You have to stay informed about the latest threats and scams and how those attackers are working.
So how do we do that?
There are lots of resources out there. Security blogs, podcasts like this one.
Of course.
Newsletters from good security companies.
Okay, so stay informed.
Yes.
All right, so we've got our foundational tools, firewalls and antivirus.
Right.
And then we've got those extra layers, strong passwords, software updates,
Just safe browsing habits.
VPNs, being careful about what we share.
And staying informed.
It seems like a lot. But I guess it's all about forming good habits.
It is good digital habit.
And those habits, combined with the right security tools, will help protect you from cyber attacks.
They will. But you have to remember, no system is perfect.
Right.
Technology keeps changing, and so do the criminals.
It's a constant arms race.
It is. So we need to stay vigilant and adapt our strategies.
Okay, so in the last part of our deep dive, we'll talk about even more steps you can take.
Yeah, to go even further with your online security.
Sounds good. Join us for the final part of our deep dive into firewalls and antivirus. Back again for the final part of our deep dive into firewalls and antivirus.
We've covered so much already. It's been great.
Yeah, all the basics, how they work, how important layered security is.
All that good stuff.
But we also talked about how these tools are only part of the story.
Right. It's not just about the technology.
Exactly. It's like having a top-of-the-line security system and then leaving your front door wide open.
The best tools won't help if you don't use them, right?
Exactly. So what are some practical things people can do beyond just installing software to really boost their online security?
One of the easiest and most effective is just being super mindful of what you click on and what you download.
Think before you click, right?
Exactly. It should be everyone's motto online.
Avoid those links and emails from people you don't know, and watch out for websites that look a little sketchy.
Yeah, if it feels off, it probably is.
And what about downloading files?
Another potential danger zone for sure.
So what should we be doing?
Only download from sources you trust. Absolutely.
Okay.
And if something seems too good to be true,
Yeah.
probably is.
Good advice. So just being a little cautious and skeptical online can make a big difference.
A huge difference. And another really important thing is backing up your data.
Oh, yeah. Backups.
Because no matter how secure we are, things happen, accidents happen, and you could lose everything.
So we need a plan B.
Exactly. Back up your files to an external hard drive or a cloud storage service, ideally both.
Okay.
And make sure those backups are secure too.
So encrypt them or keep your external drive somewhere safe.
Exactly. That way, even if the worst happens, you're protected.
It's something we all put off, but it can be such a lifesaver.
It really can. And here's another simple thing that a lot of people overlook: two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication. I've heard of it, but I'm not really sure what it is.
It's actually pretty easy. So when you log into an account, instead just your password, you also need to enter a code they send to your phone or email.
So it's like having two locks on your door.
Exactly. Makes it much harder for hackers to get in, even if they have your password.
And I bet it's not too difficult to set up right.
Not at all. Most online services offer it now, and it just takes a couple minutes.
Okay. Two-factor authentication. Got it? So we're being careful about what we click. We're backing up our data using two-factor authentication. What else?
Watch out for those social engineering scams. Those are becoming more and more common.
Social engineering scams. What are those exactly?
So it's basically when someone tries to trick you into giving them your information, like your passwords or bank details.
So they're not hacking into systems, they're hacking into people.
Exactly. They might pretend to be a company or someone you trust or try to scare you into doing something.
Oh, wow. So how can we protect ourselves from that?
Always be skeptical if you get an email or a phone call out of the blue, especially if they're asking for personal information or saying, you need to do something right away.
If it feels fishy, it probably is.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions, verify who they are, and never give out sensitive information unless you are absolutely sure it's legitimate.
It all comes back to being informed and aware.
It really does. Knowledge is power when it comes to staying safe online.
So stay up to date on the latest scams and tactics. Be cautious, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you're unsure.
Exactly.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of firewalls and antivirus.
I hope everyone found it helpful.
Yeah, definitely online security is not just about the technology. It's about understanding the threats, making smart choices, and having good habits.
Be curious, stay informed, stay safe online.
Great advice. We're Michael Reynolds.
And Laura Wilson.
And this has been the AnzenGuard Podcast. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And be sure to like, comment, and share this one with your friends and family. Until next time, stay safe.